All right, so our next speaker will be Terrell Russell, and he is going to be giving the consortium update.
All right. Yes, so hi, I'm Terrell. This is my consortium update for the year. And I want to make sure that our pixels are looking the way they're supposed to. All right. First time we've done a transition. So we have a few minutes here to talk about the state of the world for us, and before we talk about the technology itself. So it turns out that this is the 17th user group meeting, which is a number that is getting larger every year. Surprisingly, I remember doing the 8th or 9th or 10th just a couple years ago. I think COVID happened and all of a sudden we're at 17. So this is pretty great, thank you. Here's a list of where we've been. Open call always to, if you would like to put your own name on this list and host us next year, we'd really appreciate that. We've tried to bounce back and forth from the US to Europe because that's where the bulk of our interest is and the most of our users and institutions. We're happy to go somewhere else. So that'll be the 18th next year. That's kind of crazy also. So again, thank you. Some more thank yous. Some of the people in the room, some of the people not in the room. This is a team effort. It does take a lot of effort to get this stuff off the ground and make things polished and good, from the technology side to the pixels and the sound, to the food, to the space. We're at the Durham Bulls Athletic Park here today. It's a great venue. We've got fun logos on the screens. And of course, our sponsors as well. Thank you so much for all of this. It makes it possible. So I try to make this a 10,000-foot view for those that maybe are seeing this for the first time. We do have a mission statement with the consortium. Our job is first and foremost to make the code better. So this is an inherited project for us. This is an old code base at this point, right? But we have refactored a lot of it, and our job is to continue to make it good and add new things to the edge. And I think Corey's doing an amazing job making that work. We've also got to grow the community. This is a sustainability effort. I jumped to the 5th bullet, but our job is to make sure that you guys are happy. It does what it's supposed to do and continues to be interesting and on the edge of what's possible. We spend a lot of our time trying not to reinvent the wheel. So we really do want to be as standard and normal and boring as possible, from the sense of the code is doing what it's expected to do and from the perspective of an administrator. So we do spend our time paying attention to open standards and community discussions about that kind of stuff. And of course, whenever you need something, please reach out. Our job is to make sure that you guys are getting the best service and support we can, so that your mission statements can be met. More on sustainability in a little bit. The consortium itself is turning 12 this year, so Becky said a long time. It has been a long time. That was about the time that the funding agencies said, look, this is good enough, grow some legs, go have a business plan. And we talked about it a long time, used many different words, and the conversation stopped as soon as somebody said the word consortium. That was the right business model, the right people in the room at the time. It was not going to be a spin out. It was not going to be a for-profit thing. So at the time, the consortium kind of came out of the ether. We wrote it down, and largely still the same structure as it was when we started. So thank you so much. This has been a 12-year journey so far. And then a crazy number is that this is what I was saying earlier. This code base itself does have bones 30 years ago. So this was started at San Diego Supercomputing Center. It started as the storage resource broker. This was the kind of the first half of what iRODS does. So it was a data grid technology, and it provided a metadata catalog. The second 10 years of funding are when the iRODS brand kind of came out and became open source in the way that we know it today, as well as the rule engine stuff that we now depend on for most of the kind of interesting functionality on top of what iRODS is. So this is the group of people in the original paper talking about the code that was worked on in 1995, which is a long time ago now. So thank you to all of them. So again, iRODS Consortium itself is not a legal entity. We are part of the Renaissance Computing Institute, and RENC is one of 50, 60, 70 institutes at UNC in Chapel Hill in North Carolina. So that is our organizational structure for those of you following along at home. The business model for the consortium, I said it is really about sustainability. We spend a lot of time talking about use cases. If you come and ask me a bunch of questions, my job is to ask you a bunch of questions because everyone's installation is different, everyone's plan is different, everyone's economic reality is different, your existing ecosystem is different and custom. And so because iRODS is pretty flexible, my job is to figure out what it is that you actually want, even if you don't know yet. And then we can make it work. We spend time typing on keyboards and helping people with their code. We also provide service and support contracts and a little bit of arm waving and consulting if that's what's best for your position. We do have a tiered membership model. We offer hours of support with that, and voices get heard for the roadmap. And then I think the way that if there's going to be a sustainable forever future, I think it's going to have to be with Tier 3 support and pass-through and partnerships with other for-profit companies in the sense that's what's going to affect our bottom line in a way that's good. So system integrators and compute vendors and storage vendors are the way that if we can find partnerships, that may pay for multiple memberships. We'll see how that goes. So our current membership, I think we're at 24, 25. You can count them if you want to play that game. We've got 3 anonymous members. Mostly our memberships are research institutes and universities. We've found that the value proposition kind of resonates most with those types of organizations. We've also had for-profit, commercial, automotive and pharmaceutical and defense, things like that. But they tend to see data management as kind of a means to an end, as opposed to kind of part of their core mission. So if they're making a new widget and they sell a bunch of them, they don't really care how it happens. So they may come and they go when the winds blow. But this is our core right now, where we spend most of our time talking to the people in the room. Thank you. So since last year, we've had 22 renewals, 3 new members. I think they're on the next slide. 2 service contracts, lots and lots of conversations about what's possible. Usually have to talk to people for a couple years before something becomes real, because the possibilities are wide. We've been at or run 11 different conferences and events, and we have had 4 interns. We had 1 in the fall, and we have 3 right now, so they are in the room. You can spot them and corner them and ask them tough questions. They know everything now. They've been here 3 weeks. So new members this year, would like to welcome the Netherlands Cancer Institute, the George Washington University, and Wageningen. We've got a new Dutch, we'll call it a Dutch consortium. I can't use the word consortium. Is that the right word? A Dutch consortium has evolved and come out of the ether, and so they've joined forces and they now get a vote, which is good. So 2 of those are here on the screen, and then our friends from Washington, D.C. are now in the room, so thank you so much. Tell your friends, right? So the last year we've had 5 working groups. 1 has been dissolved because we deemed it complete, that's unprecedented. We've never dissolved a working group before, so congratulations to us. If that's the goal, we did it. We have a standing technology working group. That's everybody. We get in the room, make sure everybody understands what's going on. The metadata templates working group, I reported on that last year. That work has basically been released and is now ready to be used. And I think there's a talk this year about how that got incorporated a bit more. Authentication working group keeps coming up with new things. We thought that one was ending, but I think it's still got a future. S3 working group, spending time presenting iRODS as S3 and then continuing to feel out some of the functionality that Amazon provides and making sure that we can meet requirements coming from our members. The imaging working group started off with a bang and had a whole bunch of people show up. It turns out that there is a definite latent need for image management from that community. They have the software, they have the community. They are all trying to solve this problem themselves, and it's very complicated. So we think that we provide a useful answer for them, and we are navigating the relationship to maybe become more integrated with some of the open software in the imaging world. So that is all very exciting. I will not steal any of Corey's thunder, but we did have a major version this year, the first time in 11 years, which sounds like a crazy number. But we did make a promise when the consortium was founded that we would remain Federation compatible with iRODS 3. So the entire iRODS 4 series did that, and we have now just released iRODS 5. So we are now free from the shackles of our promise. We did it. We expect to release major versions more quickly now. We have been spending time, like I said, on standardization. So the metadata templates universe, how schemas work and how they fit together, and whose responsibility is to manage them and version them and use them. Those have moved forward. Again, on authentication, we've had some major progress. And what we've been calling protocol plumbing, we now have a picture, which is exciting. And it shows a lot of the work that's been done in the last few years about making iRODS more accessible to existing interfaces and tooling without having external developers have to learn all of our words and all of our mental model. We've also been spending a lot of time on partnerships. We've got work with Globus, we've got work with Omero, that's the microscopy community, RSpace, which I think we've been describing as electronic lab notebook, but now we're going broader, more of a vertical interoperability tool for lots and lots of different tooling in the scientific workspaces, and Dataverse, which is a repository software. So we're looking at lots of different integrations to make our stuff a little bit more visible and supportive of those communities, and look into some multiplier effects by working together. And then we've got some secrets that we can't tell you about. And of course, our main obligation, of course, is to RINC proper. They are our main host and main funder. And so anytime that they ask us to be a part of something, we spend our time, and that kind of jumps to the front of the line as our obligation. And there's some really interesting work that we hope to get off the ground the next year or so. About 6 months ago, I'm not watching the clock, about 6 months ago, we spent a little bit of time asking for surveys for the first time from community members. And this is an aggregated view. I will not go through each of them, but for the most part, this is kind of what people are doing with iRODS on large enough installations that they thought this was worth to write me back, right? Of course, this is a sample size that's not necessarily representative of all services and installations. But most people are using Postgres. The network's not really the problem. Storage, it's kind of all over the place, but there are some parallel file systems. The tape surprised me. I thought that there was going to be more tape coming back from the responses to this set of questions. But if they are using tape, then you guys are using something maybe managed by somebody else. And so I think there's an opportunity there to lean into that a bit more. We thought that tiering was used a bit more. I think it's still pretty rare, and I guess that's just because we spent a lot of time thinking about it, but it takes time for you guys to decide to use it. I think that's where people are going to save a lot of money. Logging and monitoring, I think, is still kind of nascent. I think we've got to talk on that this year as well. So I'm happy to hear what that looks like. But yes, this is the first time we've done this. So if I do it again next year, I imagine the answers will be pretty much the same. So I'd be happy to hear from you. What would you like to see in the survey? What would you like to hear from others so that you can compare and contrast? That's an interesting thing for me to kind of consider how to manage that. And then I also asked what the hardest things were. And turns out that database connection management was something that a couple people talked about. We know that. We've not really ever dug into how to make that better yet, but we're getting there. The migration from different rule languages, okay, I don't know that we can do much with that yet. We can, a little bit more documentation maybe, but we can help with that. But mostly that's just a step that has to happen. The metrics question, we've done a lot of that recently. We've now got A time in iRODS 5, and so we should be able to answer a lot of these questions in terms of monitoring and age. And then there's an interesting thing about decoupling different rules from one another, how they want to interact, but we want to keep them separate and version them separately. And so happy to talk about that with anybody. I don't really understand that one as much. In terms of trends for the last year, we have noticed that we think that the pendulum is swinging in kind of a global space from everybody go to the cloud, everybody centralize their stuff. We're seeing, for a variety of reasons that we can talk about, maybe not on the recording, people are interested in repatriation and ownership and being able to control their own data and understand what's going into these large language models like we heard about, the reasoning models, garbage in, garbage out, that kind of stuff. but also sovereignty things about, this is our data. We can't put it into a hyperscaler and not have monitoring on the costs, as well as maybe the ownership and the regional boundaries of where these things live. So there's a lot to be done, I think, from our perspective, that we can help people with and have these conversations. I think we have the tooling from a hybrid and kind of bursting and local control perspective. And then, of course, standardization again, with the GA4GH work, with the OME ZAR. This is the new file format in imaging. This is kind of cloud-friendly file format. And then obviously all the stuff around OAuth. iRODS is not an HTTP protocol, but we've now been playing in that space and we have a pretty good solution, I think. And this may be perhaps the most important slide. Obviously, as a sustainability model around our software, this requires us to toot our own horn and tell good stories and do good public relations. But it also obviously requires funds, and we are not yet sustainable. We need people's help, right? So we love being at Renzi, we love being at UNC. I really like having a house and being married. I don't want to go off and do something crazy and with a lot of risk. However, this is we need more help from you guys. So I would like to ask that our membership spend time thinking about a little bit of effort that they can do to lean on their vendors, to make sure that the people that you are purchasing things from, that they are aware of what your requirements are and your integration efforts and your interoperability requirements with iRODS and how you do your work. Tell us those success stories. Tell us how you are saving money, how you think you could save even more money if we did X, Y, and Z. Obviously, tell your executive people, the people that are in charge of the flowing of the money. Please let them know the ROI. And then obviously, as much as you can with your own bullhorns and your websites and your blogs and your socials and all that kind of stuff, tell a story about how this works for you, because I think that's how we get new entrants, as well as the partnerships and the things with other open source groups. And then, like I said, with products and revenue sharing and services, we're always exploring that. If you think there's an angle somewhere for something in the market, we'd be happy to talk about that as well. But as the university, we're not allowed to sell a product, but we can navigate that space with smart people. So we did meet our 11-year compatibility promise. We are very excited about that, and now we get to go fast, which is exciting. I think I've used all my time. Thank you.
That's right. Thank you. I guess maybe we can take one question. All right. Let's see. All right, so we have a question from John Constable. The question is, what would I like to see in the survey next year? Administration overhead, please. How many FTEs and developers? Regulatory requirements. Do any sites need to meet any ISO 27 HIPAA?
Yeah. So those came up after the survey went out, and I totally agree. I'd be happy to know about how many FTEs it takes to run your stuff. That would be a really helpful thing. I'd get that question a lot, and I know that it takes 1 to 3 or 5 or 10, depending on the scale of the type of services that you provide. And so that's a good thing. And then in terms of compliance, I think that's a very important question. We actually had a compliance forum run by Margot Merkel a couple weeks ago, and we had 40 or 50 people who were new to us. We did not know these people, and they all showed up and asked questions about compliance. And so I think there's a definite opportunity for us to move up the stack a bit more and start talking about the things that we do well and that we are not really in competition with other open source groups with. I think or even commercial groups. Thanks, John.
All right, let's clap it up
Thank you.
again.